Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Apollo, a game inspired by NASA moon missions. This is a game designed by Jonathan Gilmour and Sarah Addison and published by Buffalo Games. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a bit of a space nerd, and anything dealing with the space program especially catches my eye, and this cover is really evocative of the space program and definitely caught my eye. Generally I prefer solitaire games, but this is a 2 to 5 player game. And I think this is going to be really unique because it kind of, to me, initially had that Sonar vibe. Now, Sonar is an opposed game, but the thing where I get that vibe from is that imperfect information, that you're really relying on good communication with your team. And this is not opposed, it's cooperative, but you really do need to have good communication with mission control and the astronauts and the spacecraft as you're flying your missions, doing your experiments, things like that. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game's all about. You are go for launch, 1961. President Kennedy challenged the nation to land astronauts on the moon by the end of the decade. Now it's up to you to walk in the footsteps of NASA's pioneers and embark on the missions that made history for all mankind. Play as mission control and astronauts. Work together and strategize to complete flight stages, overcome obstacles, repair the spacecraft, and keep communications clear. It's the team that determines if the mission succeeds or fails. And here it shows you playing as mission control or as the astronauts, example of all the game components. In the contents it has a Gemini mission pack, an Apollo mission pack, assorted game boards and components. I'm not going to list out all the components here, we'll see them when we open the box, but at the bottom it does say watch the video to learn how to play at buffalogames.com/Apollo. So if this interests you, this preview, you may want to go there, see what this game is all about, and see if it's for you. So let's take a look inside and see what you get. And we get our rule book, Gemini mission board, the mission control board, crisis puzzles, another mission control board, the Apollo mission board. Looks like the astronaut controls, flight controls for the astronauts. Various tokens. Looks like a poster for the Artemis program. We have our mission packs for Gemini and Apollo. Another status for the flight control. Some dice, cards, turn token with pretty cool art. Some wood bits, and some plastic bits for the mission control board. So let's set up the boards and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the two boards that come with the game. We have the Gemini mission board and the Apollo mission board. Gemini is going to be small and simple because it is just Earth orbital missions. That was the middle program between Mercury and Apollo. This is where we learned how to live and work in space for extended periods of time, and where we literally took our first steps when Ed White took the first EVA for the US, the first spacewalk. Apollo is going to be bigger because you're going to start off in Earth orbit, and then you're going to do your TLI, get into the lunar orbit, land, hopefully successfully, and then take off again, and then return Earth with your splashdown. On the way, you'll be doing experiments, making repairs, dealing with crises, things like that, to get from stage to stage successfully and have an overall successful mission. And here's a look at the mission control layout. I didn't want to show you the individual pieces. I figured I would show you set up just as it will be for the mission control player during the game. You have your control board, and then you have your crisis cards on either side. When those are drawn, the mission control player will have to solve a puzzle in order to allow the system to be repaired and the astronauts can continue on. You will use these alert flip-ups here to tell the astronauts when there is a system that is down, and then if there's no comms, you will lift this up. These are pretty cool little plastic pieces that pop up. One thing I did notice in my copy, and be careful with yours, is this one was a little banged up. And it was that's because the piece is not fully in, and when it was put in place and I guess pushed down, you can see a little bit of stress there. There's like a stress fracture on the plastic. So be very careful when you get these. You don't want to get a piece that's broken right out of the box, because then it'll be a little more difficult to use in the game. I'm going to see if I can repair this and get it ready to play, but just be mindful of that when you get those pieces out and set up your game. And we'll take a look at the astronaut control board. The top portion here acts as like a player aid card that explains to you all the different dice that are necessary for each step, and then this is where you'll be placing your dice, and then the bonus tokens, this is where you get those plus minus tokens we saw before. You put your dice in here and you get those plus minus tokens, which allow you to move a dice up or down. You'll have your dice pool, and these are the astronaut pawns that'll be used to keep track of all the astronaut actions, and then you have a black one here, which is used for experiments. We'll take a look at the token sheets that come with the game. These are the plus minus tokens. We have plus on the front and minus on the back. These are earned by the astronauts when they put extra dice on the bonus token slots in the flight damage board. And on the second sheet, we also have pawns for both Gemini and the Apollo mission, so you can keep track of your progress on the flight board. Then we have 2 sheets of comm tokens. These are for communication between mission control and the astronauts. And we have the crisis puzzles and the crisis puzzles pieces. These are used by mission control when dealing with crisis cards. They're going to have to put together these little puzzles to be able to move on to the next step. And speaking of crisis puzzles, we have crisis cards. That's what leads to those puzzles. We have a crisis here for experiments. It says decrease life support by 1 in each roll. And then 1 for comms says decrease the experiments track 1 for each roll. Now we'll take a look at a couple of the cards from the Gemini mission pack. Not going to show them all to you. Don't want to ruin the surprise. But we'll take a look at one of the experiments here. You collect these 3 dice, and on the back, the frog growth experiment will give you a +2 to any system. That's the benefit there. Then we have the rendezvous and dock with the target vehicle. That is the Gemini capsule docking with the Gina. And that's going to be important for the in-orbit rendezvous that you're going to have to do with the CSM and the LEM to get to the moon and land successfully for the Apollo program. Now we'll take a look at the rules. It is a 17-page rulebook. A link to the video tutorial for the game at buffalogames.com/Apollo is on the front cover, just like we talked about earlier in the video. Once you open up the book, you get your component list here in graphical format with an explanation of what each of the components is. Mission objective, the difficulty getting started has Gemini and Apollo missions. Obviously, Gemini is the starter missions, and then Apollo is the advanced missions. You have 2 experiments for Gemini and 30-minute duration. For Apollo, it is 3 experiments, 45 to 60-minute duration. Then we get into the game setup for mission control, and then for the astronaut setup. Then we get to how to play. Each round has 2 phases, the roll phase and the action phase. Roll phase, pretty simple, just roll your bucket of dice. The action phase is where you're going to match up the dice to each of the 5 systems on the flight board. Any 6s will go to the bottom. As you place your dice, there are going to be blank spaces. If you get a bunch of 6s, you'll try to fill those in and try to lessen the amount of damage that each of the systems take. At the same time, mission control will keep track of the systems that do take damage, and that will decrease the amount of dice that the astronauts get in their dice pool. So it's really important to make sure to balance where those dice get placed if you have the extra 6s, because you want to try to minimize as much damage as possible, because you don't want to lose out on too many dice, but you're going to as the mission continues. Then the action phase explanation continues, and one of the interesting things about the action phase, it is a timed 4-minute phase. There is no timer in the box, just use your phone or have another timer. If you have a sand timer or a digital timer, you can use that and place that. Explanation of all the different systems. We have experiments, communications, repairing system, mission control actions, track the mission, raise the alert lights using comm tokens, raise comm down alert. That's if you can no longer communicate with the astronauts. You are going to raise that to let them know. I cannot talk to you, but you can continue to send me data by talking to me, because I've got to continue to monitor the systems. Because just like in a real mission, you may have your comms maybe down, but you're still going to get that data link that's going to give you all the important data for the spacecraft, and mission control will keep track of that, so that way they know the dice that will be assigned to the astronauts. Then the mission control board is explained here. And then once you get to the crisis level on any system, you're going to have to deal with a crisis puzzle. You're going to have to figure that out to be able to do repairs. And then we have game end, mission success, or mission failure. And then if you're beating the game pretty easily, here are some variants that you can use to increase the difficulty when you play the next time. Then we have the appendix for a flight stage car reference for both Gemini and Apollo. And that is the end of the rulebook. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Apollo, a game inspired by NASA moon missions. This is a game designed by Jonathan Gilmour and Sarah Addison and published by Buffalo Games. As you can see, this game comes with a lot of really cool and thematic stuff. It looks really interesting, and like I said before, it has a kind of a sonar vibe. It's not a competitive game, it's cooperative, but it's got that vibe because you're dealing with imperfect information. Communication's key. You have to listen and you have to think and strategize to make the best of each turn. And I really think this is pretty cool. Just like it was with mission control and the astronauts up in the spacecraft, you have to work together for the common goal, and I'm really looking forward to getting this one on the table. Well, hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.